Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today, sitting down to deliver my thoughts on another brand new release this week. Now when I started off my week, I knew I was going to be talking about Forspoken and Dead Space Remake. I didn't plan for a third game, but I am happy to rearrange the schedule and fit this one in because it's one of those games that you play, you look at, and you go, wow, I can't believe this exists and I can't believe it just came out a couple of days ago. So the game we're talking about in today's video is Hi-Fi Rush. Before any of that, a word from our sponsor. This video is brought to you by Factor. Factor makes your nutrition goals easier than ever by delivering fresh, never frozen, dietitian-approved meals right to your doorstep. Now do keep in mind that Factor is owned by HelloFresh, another brand that we did a sponsorship for over on Retro Rebound, where they provide you a ton of ingredients. Meanwhile, here on Factor, it's a wide array of meals. This is the new year, you've got some goals, right? And Factor is here to help you achieve those. For me, it's just staying on that health is wealth grind, and honestly, bringing ease to that is the best part of it all. So no matter what your lifestyle is, Factor has the meals to help you live your life to the fullest. In my case, I do a vegan, vegetarian diet, and they have meals for that. And let me tell you what, they are absolutely delicious. They have a great lentil meal. They have a great tortellini meal. I mean, they got so many good ones here, man. So eating vegan, eating veggie is a snap with Factor. Something that I can't say prior to them was the case. And it let me just take the day in stride, just trimming down that time spent cooking, grocery shopping even. It's so nice to just have that option in the fridge, pull it out, microwave it, have a nice healthy meal, and call it a day. So if you're interested in all of this, then head to factor75.com or click the link down below and use the code MattyPlays60 to get 60% off your first Factor box. Again, that's factor75.com or click the link down below, use the code MattyPlays60 to get 60% off your first Factor box. For those who don't know, this was a game that was shadow dropped during the Xbox Developer Direct. It was completely unexpected, and when they announced it, I thought, oh cool, like a nice second half game. That would have been totally fine with me. And when they said it's dropping today, and then I thought, oh, it's gotta be an indie style game, smaller style game, and when it was a full-fledged game, I literally couldn't believe it. But talk about a surprise moment, truly, from Xbox. And I just want to commend that before I go deep into the actual mechanics and story and what works for me and what doesn't work for me. The idea of this game existing is honestly really cool. It's cool because they trusted Game Pass to have this one be a shadow drop and that it would find its audience through surprise factor, through excitement, through the fact that it looked really good. Those three factors all work together in its favor. But also, tip of the literal cap to Bethesda for hearing out this idea. This game comes from Tango Gameworks, developers of The Evil Within 1 and 2, as well as Ghostwire Tokyo. All these games are great in my opinion, some better than others. I'm a huge fan of the first Evil Within, and I've always found Tango to be really talented, but they haven't made that monstrous surprise hit. And who would have thought that that would come through an Xbox exclusive out of complete nowhere? But for Bethesda to hear out a rhythm game, a rhythm action game, mind you, from their horror studio that's led by Shinji Mikami, the grandfather of survival horror, is crazy. But it shows that they believe in good ideas over there, and I love that this was a project that they greenlit. Also, tip of the cap to Xbox as well, not because the game exists, but more so when they delayed everything out of the fall window, this probably could have been a game that they said, well, let's move this up. We need to fill it out. We need to fill out the holiday window. We need to make money. The fact that they didn't, this was a wise time to be restrained because I think it elevated the overall developer direct. So, just across the board, hats off. I'm not going to take my hat off though. I'm having a horrible hair day today. So that's why you're catching me in the rare cap. But anyway, now let's talk about the game. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are new here and you are into reviews, impressions, videos, consider subscribing. With that, let's begin with Hi-Fi Rush. Now, a lot of you have been asking me about this game on Twitter and the YouTube comment section. What do you think? What do you think? I have not beat this game yet, but I wanted to make sure I delivered my thoughts on it as quickly as possible because I know a lot of you have been asking for it. This game is awesome. For starters, it's got a lot of charisma, from its art style to its main character Chai to the animation quality. It's all there and it's all fantastic. It's also very self-aware that it's not taking itself too seriously, something a game from earlier this week can't really say it tried to do, but people will argue otherwise. When it comes to Hi-Fi Rush, you have this main character named Chai who is voiced by Robbie Daymond of all people, which is awesome because this guy is a star-studded voice actor. My man Akechi in the building. Let's go. So Chai is a dude who had a busted arm. He shows up on Vandalay Island, where pretty much this is a hyper-futuristic world. And on this island, you can replace certain body parts with robotic parts. So what this means is his busted arm's about to become a robot arm. Sounds cool, right? In the process of that happening, his chest has a MP3 player stamped right into it. And now the whole world moving to the beat. Here we go now. Everything from every object to every piece of UI to every character, every enemy, everyone's moving to the beat. This is even down to the audio during cutscenes where when, say, for example, Chai's guitar comes together, just listen to this and how each piece makes a noise that plays into the overall song. It is awesome. It's such a weird, funky concept, but it works beautifully when put into practice. And again, the fact that this is such a, I would call it an anti-Xbox game. This is typically the one you see them like throw a bag at for Game Pass. But when they got Tango Gameworks, this is what we were hoping for, like a truly Japanese style game on Xbox. And that's what it is through and through. As you get into the thick of it, the game is very tutorial heavy in the early going, and I think that's okay because as you'll see in my own personal gameplay, and I have no hesitation admitting it, I struggled. Like I was really having a tough time finding the beat, finding the rhythm, and that was mighty unfortunate. But when you get a feel for it, oh, does it feel good. And I'll get into how I eventually got there. So as it starts off, you have a light attack and a heavy attack. You have a dodge button, a jump button. It's very simple in the terms of input, and I think that's actually to the game's benefit because it's all about feeling the beat, and you have to listen and feel that out and focus more on your ears than your eyes in the early going. So complex inputs, I don't think are super necessary here. So what happens is you have the light attack, you have the heavy attack, and you're gonna mix and match these for different combos that you can eventually unlock later in the game. But overall, you're gonna see the UI bouncing, and that's a good way to get a feel for the beat. Like, okay, every 1, 2, 3, that's when I should have an input. For me, I was feeling the rhythm wrong in the early going. You'll see I'm going way too slow. I'm like 1, 2, 3. It's like, no, Matty, way too slow. So finding out that button input process is tough. Fortunately, the game doesn't punish you for it. It's just that when you hit that beat, number one, it feels good. They give you great audio feedback, like little guitar, like that stuff. It just feels better, but you also do more damage. You get more out of it when you're landing it with the beat. So it's more rewarding to be synced up with it, but the game doesn't punish you and say, well, that didn't count. You didn't hit it with the beat. And it's the same thing when you're jumping around. Eventually, I just became obsessed with it. Whenever I was jumping to the beat. And what I'd recommend to you is if you're having a tough time getting a feel for it, what I did was I started dodging around to the beat in between combat sections because I felt like when I was staying in rhythm, I was kind of popping in and out of combat a lot better. And I was getting better each and every time. And once I finally got to the first boss in the game, that's when I was feeling it big time. I was like, okay, now I feel like I got the hang of it. But let's rewind a little bit. So that's kind of the gist of combat. You're going to match up your attacks with the rhythm on screen. However, if you need a little bit of extra help, you can press the select button pretty much. And what that'll do is bring up this little bar on the bottom, this visual aid. This kind of lets you know as well, hey, this is how the beat's going to go a little more directly. It does crowd the screen more than you may have wanted, but it does help. The other thing that helps is this little cat you meet, 808. And this cat is actually going to have a little pulse coming out of it as well. So visually, while you're running around doing combos, if you're just paying attention to that, you'll kind of know when to hit the button input. And eventually, it'll become a feel thing. What was funny is when I started to take my eyes off of things to help me track it, and more so just used my ears and paid attention to my enemies, is when I actually started to do better in combat. And that's a really hard feeling to describe. Like, use your ears more than your eyes and you'll be better off. When I started to really just submit myself to the music and less to like, okay, 1, 2, 3, think I got it there. No, it's like once you start to just listen to the music and let your body flow and just kind of click with the vibe is when you get into it. And what's great is enemies have to follow this strict rule set as well. So what happens is the game has this fun mechanic, but there's a really good rule set beneath it. What happens is when you're attacking, it's best to follow the rhythm. That's when you do the most damage. enemies can only attack on the beat. So what that means is, let's say if on beat 3 an enemy is going to attack you, you can kind of plan that out. You see the warm-up animation, like you see a laser stick out, it's green, it's starting to turn red. Okay, they're about to fire, so it's like 1, 2, 3. And you, yes, can dodge to the beat, you can jump to the beat, as I said earlier. And all this stuff is very important because it keeps you undamaged during combat. Now, as you're going through combat, you're going to get a DMC style rank. So it's going to go up and up and up. And at the end of a chapter, it's going to grade you overall, and you're going to get rewards based off of that. And so it's compelling to do better. It's why you want to get better at the game. Beyond it just feeling good and doing more damage, you do get rewards at the end of every combat scenario. So it's overall that DMC flow. When it comes to the exploration and then hopping into a battle, think Devil May Cry. But visually, I mean, this is a callback to so many awesome games that I think go underappreciated nowadays. Jet Set Radio, no doubt. Just looking at the overworld, I'm like, yep, Jet Set Radio right away. Other one, underrated Xbox exclusive from Insomniac, Sunset Overdrive. I absolutely adore this game. I know a lot of people like to dog on the Xbox One exclusives, but when you look at Titanfall and Sunset Overdrive, like, I think we got some of the best during that generation. They were just mighty infrequent, and so yeah, I packed my bags and went over to the PlayStation land. But during that time, they were delivering some really good stuff. And so this reminds me visually, world-wise, of those two games.
You know, that comic book art style with the onomatopoeias just splashing in your face, the boom, crack, bam, snap, pow, just right there in front of you. It vibes really well with the game style.
And that was such a pleasant thing to experience, especially as I'm sitting here waiting on Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, which is going to be this kind of open world style game that has that Jet Set Radio energy. It was nice to see something a little bit earlier like that. Of course, it doesn't play like Jet Set Radio, it doesn't play like Sunset Overdrive, but the world and the art style really reminded me of that. Again, evoking that sensation as someone who plays a lot of Xbox of, wow, this isn't the traditional Xbox game. I play loads of JRPGs and games that are kind of stylized like this, but to finally see this be a Xbox exclusive title, not pounding my chest like, yeah, PlayStation fans and Nintendo fans, you can't experience this, like none of that at all. I'm not giving you that energy, but to see Xbox invest in that, to see Bethesda invest in that, really, really nice to see on the platform as someone who's been really trying to crusade around like, hey, invest in these games. And now we're seeing streaming success, trending on Twitter success. Game Pass has become a true marketing machine, and I don't think this will be the last shadow drop, no doubt. Now, as you're beating up enemies and exploring the level, you're gonna find these little collectibles, and that was another nice surprise tucked away in there. It's very simple, very God of War 1, 2, and 3-esque, where you'd find these items that would increase your health bar or increase your battery gauge. And the battery gauge is tied to a special attack that, again, you synchronize with the beat, and then you get this kind of circle that closes in, and that's a beat hit. That's also a combo finisher, but this is one that you can just pull off really easy and do massive amounts of damage. But point being, all these collectibles pull together into that overall health pool, it pulls into the battery gauge pool, and much more, so it makes it worthwhile to go a little off the beaten path. Otherwise, it's a pretty linear game, and that's fine. We don't need 1,000,001 open world games. Not everything has to be open world, and I like the more condensed nature of it all because it encourages me to go off the beaten path, and plus, given the DMC style structure of it where you go explore, fight, I want to get to that next combat session as soon as possible. And if I had any type of critique in the early goings, at least, obviously, again, I haven't finished it yet, but if I had any critique in the early goings, I want a little more fighting, especially to start off. Like, I wanted to fight even more. Not that there's very little fighting, but I wanted to really get into the rhythm, and I needed more combat for that. But since it's like set sections of combat, I did feel like I was longing for more enemies. I don't know if that will be ameliorated later on in the game and later chapters and whatnot, but still, I was definitely looking for a little bit more of that. Now, I also talked about combo unlockables earlier, and this to me was when I went, wow, this is a full game. Like, I can't believe it. And the reason I keep saying that is, like, you want to market this type of game, you think, but I guess Game Pass was doing the marketing at the end of the day. So You buy combos, you buy super attacks, you can buy items like those collectibles I was telling you about earlier. There's even a hidden fourth section in that store that I don't know quite much about yet. So there are reasons, again, to do well in these missions, to explore, to get as many collectibles, because you can unlock new combos, and some of them are rad, man. I really like what they did with this game. And then there are also like partner attacks. They showed this off at the developer direct, but yeah, you can have people jump in and help you, and I just like, man, there's so much here. It's such a fun video game to play. The reason this game stands out to me, it's fun and it's different, but different, as I said, with something like Forspoken doesn't always mean good. This is where well executed plays a factor. It executes its very new mechanics extremely well. And it's just funny to have two games on the opposite side of the spectrum in the same week. But that's really what happened here. You know, you look at other rhythm games out there, you get ones like Melody of Memory, you get the Persona dancing games, Theater Rhythm, and they're typically just glorified QTEs, if you will. But in this game, they really pull together this DMC style action combat system with the beat, with rockin' music, with style, with amazing voice acting, with a great upgrade system, with awesome partner attacks, and 61 achievements to boot. Not your standard 50, but 61 to the total of 1,000 gamer score. So achievement hunters are going to have a fun time here. Like, this is what it's all about, man. And this is the one thing I'm really loving about this generation of Xbox. We haven't got the heavy hitters yet, but we're seeing Obsidian, now Tango, get to experiment. And we've been feasting on these great experiments. Grounded was awesome. Pentiment was awesome. Hi-Fi Rush has been fantastic thus far. I definitely encourage you to go download it if you are a Game Pass subscriber. It's a fun, different style game. And if time is a problem, given what I've played so far and what I've seen for the structure of the game, this isn't screaming to me that you're going to be hanging around here for like 20, 30 hours. I'm sure you could go back and replay certain things, but otherwise, this seems like a nice, tight experience. And I think that's what a lot of people are looking for. But excellent game thus far. Excellent game thus far. I'm really impressed. I'm just happy it exists otherwise. So those are my thoughts on what's happening with Hi-Fi Rush. So I leave it in your hands now. What do you think about what's going on with this game? I'm looking forward to seeing your thoughts down below. Other than that, be sure to follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And a big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who continue to support the hell out of the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.